Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel, and today I have with me a very special guest, and his name is
I'm Arthur, but I go by H.
Arthur is my nephew, and so today he is here and we're going to be talking about health and technology.
Two of my favorite things.
Yes, but first we are going to talk about health because that is very important. So Arthur, how long have you been into the whole health and fitness thing?
Well, I guess I could say I've been into the whole health and fitness for roughly about, I want to say, 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
When I was younger, I used to be real skinny, and a lot of times people used to ask me, and the one thing that stuck with me, are you sick? You need to eat more, these type of things. So I was like, I was getting tired of that. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, maybe the reason I wasn't getting any girls at the time was because I was looking kind of skinny and scrawny. And so I said, you know what? I had a friend who actually looked like me. Mm-hmm. He went away for a year. He came back swoller than a mug. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what did you do? Mm-hmm. And he told me about the gym. Like, I went to the gym when I played football, mm-hmm. but I really wasn't like seeing a result or doing anything. But he told me kind of what he did, and then I started researching it myself.
Okay. So that's how you got started. That was what drove you into.
That was my why.
That was your why.
Yep.
And what continues to keep you in it?
So my why expands, right? Mm-hmm. It used to be because of the fact that I didn't want people to always think that I was sick or scrawny, mm-hmm. and look at me as a weakling, mm-hmm. or someone who might have some sort of disease. Mm-hmm. But my why now is the fact that, like, I want to be kind of a motivation for some people who, like, okay, I came from that too. I was a hard gainer. I couldn't put on the weight or the size, or I couldn't lose the weight or anything like that. Not that I was ever had to deal with that, because I know a lot of times people give me this thing like, how can you relate? You've never been in this situation. It's like, I understand though, in terms of how the mind mm-hmm. sees or perceives food. Mm-hmm. Right? Or even fitness altogether. Because mm-hmm. I know a lot of times once you start, you stop real quick because you don't see the results as quick as you want. One of the things that I try to tell people though, who might be dealing with a weight issue, mm-hmm. you didn't get that way in a month. You didn't get that way in a week. You didn't mm-hmm. get that way in a year. It took time. So you have to give yourself at least the same amount of time that it took for you to get to where you are to get back to where you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. So, how do you train a woman versus a man? Like, what's the difference? Of course, we know the difference, but...
Well, me personally, I mean, I know there's a major difference. Mm-hmm. One, I know a lot of the times of the people who I've worked with, mm-hmm. women tend to have different goals than men. Mm-hmm. However, one goal that I found wasn't common was losing the weight and then how to keep it off. Okay. For women, I just try to make them be more comfortable with the amount of work that would have to be done. Because sometimes some women, not all, just like even some men, mm-hmm. they just don't want to do the extra work, mm-hmm. or they feel as though they don't want to bulk up. Like they're scared that they're going to put on too much muscle mm-hmm. and look like one of these jacked chicks. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case unless you take some sort of supplements mm-hmm. that would push you beyond that. However, you will have a fit look. Mm-hmm. So like, it's not like you're going to be all big and swole, but you will be cut and defined. So it'll look like, mm-hmm. okay, you're a little bit more, I don't want to say the word is masculine, but mm-hmm. it really depends on how your body structure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like but you will get, like, you'll have definition. The muscles mm-hmm. will look there. You'll look like what you expect a guy to look like, and that's the reason why I feel like some women more like the smoother look rather than the hard chisel, where like you can see that each definition is like, oh, that's two. So generally, what I do is I ask what your expectations are.
Okay.
Right. What your why is. What is your driving factor? Because that's what we're going to have to keep referring to. Why are you doing this? Why do I even want this? If that why isn't strong enough, then I always would challenge you to find a deeper why. And the only way to do that, though, sometimes a person doesn't know how to. So you kind of ask questions. It's almost like psychotherapy, but I don't do that. So I'm just trying to get to know you.
But I think that's the whole thing, though, because I believe it does start in the mind.
I believe that too.
It really does. I believe that it starts with the psyche because that's where most of the weight is, I believe.
I believe the same thing.
Yeah.
And the main reason why I say that is because most things come from thought. Like any of your actions that you do,
your behavior
will generally come from some sort of thought. You thought about it first, even if it was something that didn't quite linger in your mind long enough.
Right.
Most things come as a thought before you do it. And the thing is, sometimes people don't understand where that thought is coming from. Okay. And that's what the breakdown comes like. Where is this thought coming from and why? And that's how you find out what your why is.
Right. Okay.
Is by analyzing where that thought came from.
And dealing with it, confronting it. So, my thing is the importance of building muscles, because you was talking about muscle. In my mind, I always thought, well, because isn't it true that muscle weighs more than fat?
That is not true.
It's not?
1 pound is 1 pound.
Okay. So then why is it that fear? Because I always thought, well, if you gain muscle, then that'll add to when you get on the scale. But if you build muscle, that actually helps burn fat.
To a degree.
Okay.
And it's mainly because it takes more energy to maintain muscle than it does to maintain fat.
Okay.
So I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
What's heavier? 100 pounds of feathers or 100 pounds of brick?
Well, see, you would think, because brick, you would think, okay, that would be heavier, but actually it would be the feathers.
Well, actually, it's 100 pounds of feathers and 100 pounds of bricks.
Okay. Is this a trick question?
Not really. It's 100 pounds.
Right. They're both.
And this is 100 pounds.
But they're equal.
So is 100 weigh more than 100?
No, they're equal.
Exactly. So if you think about it, when someone says that muscle weighs more than fat, it's not the case. It's that muscle is more dense than fat. Just like bricks are more dense than feathers.
Pow, drop knowledge. So for someone like me or anyone that's heavy set out there watching, like what advice would you give someone who's like my body type, who has to start from this?
Well, the first thing I want to do is kind of get an idea of where you are mentally, right? In terms of, do you have the mental fortitude to push yourself to keep going even when it's hard? I know a lot of times when people start, because I know they get a lot of pain in the chest. I gave plans out to people so many times, and I'm just like, that is, when someone comes to me asking for a plan, I'm like, okay, I can give you the plan, but the plan's not gonna work because you don't have a why.
You gotta really. And you know what, too? That almost reminds me of, I don't know this verse in the Bible, but I'm just kind of saying, when how they say it, write the vision and make it plain. It's almost as if figure out your why. Be clear about why you're doing it, so that, like you say, when you hit those rough spots, or when you come against that time where you're discouraged, you're writing out your why you don't. So you're like, but this is why, and this is the end result, so you can keep on pushing. Especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, like you really need like some type of plan, something written out, like you really need something structured. Yeah. And a support system too. Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of things, like I know that's one of the big things. Some people would need a strong support system. My thing is this. Mm-hmm. This might be a hot take, might not, I don't know.
Okay.
But if you have a strong enough why, you don't need a support system. You don't need any of that motivation.
You're
because
right.
your why is gonna motivate
You're
you.
like, yeah.
So that's the reason why I tell people when they ask me now, why do you want that?
And that's your truth. That's walking in your truth too. That's all a part of it. Your truth, your reality, you know, and how you want your life to be, and just.
One of the other things too I would recommend too with your why, once you figure that out, really think about it. Like think about, okay, is this why strong enough? Like think about at the times when you would be the most discouraged, when you would most want to take the temptation, think about that why in that mental, this because it tastes good. I need this.
Those inner
it's
conversations.
in the mind. So like, and you're constantly putting, and if you constantly put in negative, your body's gonna give you negative. Because that's what you're saying you want. You're telling your body what you want. So if you constantly keep thinking of negative things, putting negative things in, you're gonna negative things out, because that's what your body, you're saying, this is what I want. Give it to me.
Yeah, it's like you're forming your work. You're like, it's like you say, it starts with your thoughts, and then what it is, you begin to speak what it is you're thinking. And then you begin to form.
In that regards, you are receiving. Mm-hmm. No matter what. It's either you're receiving the negative or you're receiving the positive. But you're always receiving.
Receiving something, but it's being able to put yourself in a position, because like with the love of God, sometimes it's because we feel so bad about ourselves. It's hard to receive. So like you say, either you're going to receive something good or you're going to receive something bad. And that's important.